Meanwhile, Joseph was lonely because Mary had gone away to the home of cousin Elizabeth. Also, he did not understand why she had to leave in the middle of the night. He had heard this news from his future father-in-law Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim also wanted answers. He asked, "Well, Joseph," with something like truculence in his voice, "now you've heard. What do you say?" Joseph shook his head slowly and turned to the wash basin. From a jug that Mary had poured with water for him only the night before, the carpenter poured a splash into the basin and dashed a handful on his face. He wet his hair and beard and, panting a little, dried himself with a bundle of hay. "Mary had good reason," was his answer. "Be sure of that." Jehoiakim's face softened. "She must have had," he agreed. "But can you imagine what it would be? This is an unheard of thing, Joseph. A girl does not run off from her parents." "And from her espoused one," continued Joseph. "Yes, and of course from her betrothed," Jehoiakim agreed. "Why, only last night you two were setting the date for the wedding. Do you suppose she got a little giddy, overexcited, I mean? She is a very young girl." "No, not Mary," declared Joseph firmly. "There was never another so composed as she, as serene, and," he added, with an eloquence of words not usual in him, "unshakable in her purposes. She loves me. She is going to marry me. Last night we made great plans. Something happened after I left her, I am sure of that. Something good. We must believe when we do not know." But the same thoughts were in both minds. The great southern road was long and difficult. "If," sighed Joseph, answering his own doubts, "she had wanted me, she would have called me. And God will protect her," he added, his voice breaking. Joseph's faith was fully justified. As one under special protection, Mary traversed the weary distance. She had walked only a few miles when a small caravan overtook her and offered her a donkey to ride to the next town. Most of the whole way she was carried by kindly strangers. 3 successive nights she had found shelter with friendly travelers, glad to share with her their hospitality. In her bundle was food enough, but she need not have brought it along. Everyone offered her food. Brooding she was all the way. The wayfarers were struck by a feeling of special separateness that distinguished her. One of the least of them, a bearded old tatterdemalion who had journeyed east and west on the backs of camels for more than 40 years, a rake held from the Damascus bazaars, gave her a cup of flavored water late one night and whispered, "Where have you found such peace?" There was no mirror for Mary to study. It would be days later before the peasant girl would notice for herself the pallor that was coming to her face and neck, arms, and the backs of her hands, like cream over strawberries. The blood-red natural color of strength and youth was giving way to some newer and purer force taking possession. Without a mirror, she realized that something had taken hold of her and changed her. She felt as if she were a new person, a stranger who, keeping all previous memories, was nevertheless different, a mixed awareness of glory and humility. She felt small and weak and yet powerfully protected. She walked with a new assurance in which there was not pride, but a profound sense of participation in the universal flow of life, kinship with all nature. The sap rising in the twisting trunk of a sycamore tree was also in her blood. The very sight of dewdrops on the morning grass seemed enough to slake her thirst. The warmth of the sun itself was stored within her being and shone from her as well as upon her from the sky, not a glisten in the eyes of a weeping child, but become a part of the love in her thoughts, and the singing of birds, the softness of winds, the goodness of milk. Everything good and useful made a unity in her, a oneness, a celestial, unwearying sense of belonging.